Anybody who knows me knows that I'm so passionate about how to be successful. Um, I'm always sharing what I think with others and my thoughts and opinions with others, and trying to give a little bit of things that I found and research that I've done on how to be successful, so that other people can benefit from that. So I've come up with my little PowerPoint and tips and tricks on how to be successful even among a pandemic. And this is specifically for high school students. My first tip is to wake up every single day. Of course, this sounds easy, like you have to wake up every single day. You can't sleep on and on. But I don't mean just wake up. I mean, wake up with a purpose. Wake up at the same exact time every single day. If you want to be successful in life, even when everyone else is putting on the brakes, they're slowing down, nobody's keeping up the same daily pace, don't do that. Make sure you keep up your daily pace. Make sure you keep up your routines. If not keeping up, you should be increasing your daily routines if you want to truly be successful in life. Because if you slow down when everyone else is slowing down, then when everything goes back to normal, when everything opens up, you're back to working your high school job, whatever that job may be, even if it's just mowing lawns. When everything picks up, you're not going to be able to pick up the same way. Think about how it feels when you come back from a summer vacation or even winter vacation that's only 1 or 2 weeks long. It's so much harder to be back in school. It's harder to focus. It's harder to do your homework. You forget everything that you knew from the first semester. Well, that's exactly what's going to happen now. If you don't wake up every single day, if you don't keep up your daily routine, you're going to forget everything that you once knew. In John Ray's A Collection of English Proverbs, he said, "The early bird catcheth the worm." He just means if you wake up, you're going to get the thing that you want. If the thing you want is success, then wake up every day and take the steps needed to be successful. My next tip is to eat breakfast every day. Now, breakfast means break your fast. So it doesn't mean you have to eat specifically breakfast food. It doesn't mean you have to eat at 7 or 8 a.m. Any food or the first food of the day is breakfast. But eating 3 meals a day really is healthier for your body. Eating good food straight in the morning and starting your metabolism is great for you. It will also give you a sense of normalcy. If you're someone who ate breakfast before school, eating breakfast before school now and not eating breakfast while doing your homework is going to give you that little sense of normalcy. I asked all of my students at the beginning of the year, what is your perfect morning? And most of you said, eating breakfast and watching TV, or eating breakfast and reading something, whatever the case may be, whatever your before school routine was. Now you need to do that before school routine now, and then get right to it. Get right to your assignments. I looked up the benefits of eating breakfast on your brain. What I found was that researchers found that eating breakfast, particularly meals rich in protein, increases the young adult's levels of brain chemical associated with feelings of reward, which may reduce food cravings and overeating later in the day. Now, we all know the stigma of eating when you're bored. Well, that's going to be really a thing during quarantine. You're going to be bored, you're going to overeat. So if you start the day off with a meal rich in protein, it's not only going to help your brain, it's also going to help any bored snacking you might do later on in the day. Next thing is to exercise. When nothing's going on, it's easy to just sit down on your couch every day, eat snacks, not do much else. Well, establish an exercise routine. This doesn't mean you have to lift weights or do anything crazy, but maybe go for a walk, jump rope, practice basketball, soccer, or whatever sport you like outside. Walk up and down the stairs in your house a few times, whatever the case may be. Just do a purposeful exercise every day. A researcher, Dr. Scott McGinnis, found that engaging in a program of regular exercise of moderate intensity, it's not severe intensity, that's not doing a 3-hour workout, but moderate intensity over 6 months or a year is associated with an increase in the volume of selected brain regions. Well, quarantine shouldn't last 6 months. We hope it won't. But should it last, it's at least lasting to the end of the school year. We have May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Well, that's 7 months. At the end of 6 or 7 months, if you've been doing this daily routine, then during your next school year, you're going to have a healthier brain, and it's just going to get healthier with each month. So why not start this brain healthy habit now, so that next year or the next year that you're going to have a healthier, smarter brain. My next most important, keep up with your online work. This is so important. It's so easy to just split the work. Google the answers, skim through the book. Quizzes are open books, so why do I really have to study anyways? As long as I pass. I just want a D, I just want to pass. Well, this sounds fine, and it might be easy, but you're going to regret this choice at the end of your high school career. If you're a freshman or a sophomore, you might regret your choice of skipping out on algebra or something else because, well, it's a pandemic. That's why I didn't learn it. But when you're in your upper level classes, it's really going to hurt you. Chemistry students, when you get to physics class and you don't know your gas laws, you don't know your basic chemistry information, you don't know what gravity is, that's going to affect you, and it's going to affect your learning. If you don't know what a solid, gas, or liquid is and their properties, it's going to hurt your learning. And you might say, well, there's a pandemic, that's why I didn't learn it. Well, that might sound like a good excuse to your parents or your other peers, and everybody might have empathy towards you. But your teachers, well, we're going to be very heartbroken. We spent hours getting together study materials overnight. We didn't know that this was going to happen either. We're learning along with you. We spent hours and hours getting together materials for you, and you're just throwing them away and choosing not to learn our information. Don't give up. Don't use this pandemic as a reason to slack. Don't give up on your future. Don't give up on learning. We haven't given up on you. So don't give up on us by not doing your work. Don't give up on us by saying you can't learn. Don't give up on us by saying you just don't understand. If you don't understand, then ask for help. Get the help you need. If you don't understand information, there's a whole world of information to help you understand. This is literally called the information age. We have all resources available to us. Google. This is a great resource, only if you use it the correct way. There are improper ways to use Google. Googling the answer and not reading the rest of the article to learn the answer. If you look up 1 + 1 = 2, well, great, you found the answer. The answer is 2. But if you didn't understand the concept of addition, what happens when they ask you to add later on in life? Next, Googling the exact answer and not reading the steps on how to find the answer. Again, if you read the answer of what is an atom, but you never learn that a proton, neutron, and electron make up an atom, what was really the purpose of finding that answer? You don't know anything new that you didn't know before. And that's what school is all about. I don't care if you personally, if you Google the exact answer. If you find the exact answer, that's great. But some of you are not Googling the answer in order to find information. You're trying to find an answer. I really encourage you to start Googling exact answers, but reading what the answer means and how to find that answer. The next is do not Google the answer and send your answer to your friends. This is not helping them. You're not being a good friend by giving somebody the answer so that they don't have to do their homework. Because what happens then, when they're later on in life and they don't have you next to them to give them the answers, they need to learn how to find them for themselves. They need to learn how to do the work themselves, and they need to learn how to be successful themselves. You might think that you're being this great guy. You're the hero of the class because you know how to Google the answers, you know how to find them, and you send them to everyone. Well, turns out you're not the hero. You're actually the villain of the class because now all of your classmates did not gain that information. They're not smarter. You are smarter because now you know how to find the answers. Maybe you even read the articles to find the answers. So you have more knowledge now, and your friends are that much dumber because they did not research the answer and they do not have information that's gone into their brains. So here's a proper way to use Google. Google the answer, but let's learn the steps required to get to the answer. Learn how to solve the problem. Google videos that will explain the answer further. Okay, well, I found the answer, but why is this the answer? Let me Google some videos that will explain how to find it. Google other examples. Okay, you found the answer, so you've completed your assignment. But don't stop there. If you want, you can find other examples of that same exact problem and work them out. Try to find the answers over and over until you're an expert at that subject. Or if not an expert, you at least know how to do it. Now, next, yes, text your friends. Send your friends the resources that you have found so that they can learn about this too. This will make you the hero of the class. Next, watch the resources your teachers have provided. Read the resources you have provided. We spend so much time preparing these tools for you, and we make them to help you learn what you need to learn and what's important for the rest of your life. There's also Khan Academy. You know what subjects we're going over. We don't just send you Khan Academy videos because we want you to know specific things. But Khan Academy can explain some specific things further. If you're learning about photosynthesis, but you just don't understand, you've watched many videos, you have read the book, well, set up a time to meet with your teacher. Sometimes you might not learn great from videos, but spending just 10 minutes with your teacher could help you understand the information that will help you in your future. Lastly, read your book. Read the book and the pages that we're going over. Maybe once, but you might have to read it twice. Spend the time to learn the information, and you will be so grateful that you did. Why is it important to complete your assignments thoroughly? There are so many reasons that it is important to complete your assignments thoroughly. Some of these are that the information isn't given just to give you a grade. Honestly, if you get an F in my class but you've learned something this year, I don't see that you really failed. As long as you learned 50% of the information very well. The information we are providing is to stimulate your future. We want you to know things. We want you to have a better future. By completing your assignments, you are saying that you also care about yourself. You care about your future and that you want to be successful. And I'm not just talking about being a successful high school. I'm talking about being successful in the career you want, the jobs you want, and the life you want. Knowing this information can help you be a more successful parent if you are one in the future, a more successful husband if you are one in the future, more successful wife, because having knowledge will help you to do the things that you can to support that family. It'll make you a more successful person because our brains were made that we could learn this information. So we should do with what God gave us, and we should learn more information and become more successful. It also helps you learn information for your SATs. And of course, we all know you can't get into college without an SAT score and ACT score. So it'll help you learn the information you will need as a freshman in college. Well, turns out you're going to take all of your high school courses again. You're going to take them your freshman year of college. You know why a lot of freshmen don't do well in college? Well, they never took the time to learn how to study, to learn the information in high school. So, of course, they're going to struggle in college. If you want to go to college then, and you think that you can't go to college because you aren't doing well in your high school classes, well, here's a tip. Start trying in your high school classes and you will be a successful freshman in college because they're pretty much the same classes, just a little bit more in depth and a little bit of a faster pace. Thirdly, this will make you knowledgeable about many different subjects. Haven't you heard people say that you should be a well-rounded person? Well, that's what high school is designed to make you. You have art class so that maybe you can be a little bit more artistic. Even if you're terrible at art, you have a little bit, you can maybe sew a bag or draw a picture, know what colors to mix to create blue, greens, blue and yellow makes a green, etc. You have English class that teaches you proper grammar and how to talk and how to write. History class teaches you about the world around you. Science class also teaches you about the principles that make up the world around you. This will allow you to appear successful and sound successful among your peers, coworkers, and employers. Well, now I want to delve deeper into how your assignments prep you for the SATs and ACTs. Here I have found a example math problem from College Board that they ask you to practice in order to prepare for your SATs and ACTs. So here we have a quadratic equation and it's asking you, what are the solutions? If you never learned how to factor, if you never learned how to find the solution to the quadratic equation, well, you might as well close the SATs because there's many problems just like this one. So, Algebra 1 students, you better start now because if you don't learn how to factor now, well, good luck in Algebra 2 because Algebra 2 just gets harder. We just do more with these quadratic equations and with factoring. So you better work hard in both factoring and in every concept in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. Next, I have another math problem which says, which of the following is an example of a function whose graph in the xy plane has no x-intercepts? And then it gives you some examples. A linear function, quadratic function, a cubic polynomial. Well, we're doing graphing right now during the pandemic. If you don't learn which equations make these different graphs, which equations make a circle, which equations make a ellipse, well, the SATs might have questions and ask you which equation makes an ellipse, and you're expected to know that information or identify that information. You might not memorize the exact equation, but you should be able to recognize what it looks like at least after doing months and months of these problems. Next, it says this equation above defines a circle in the xy plane. What are the coordinates of the center of the circle? That's again something we're doing right now. Is finding the center of a circle. So I would really pay attention, and if you haven't, go back and learn this information. It's a good thing you're learning Algebra 2 during quarantine, because if you missed out on this information, you would have so much more preparation to do for the SATs and ACTs. Here, there's an equation. This is for my physics students. There was a picture above it that wouldn't let me copy and paste, but it was a picture of a wheel with a mark on its rim. The wheel's rolling on the ground at a constant rate along a level straight path from a starting point at an ending point. It says if the graph of what dt equals and the y is supposed to be in the parentheses on the right could represent which of the following as a function of time from when the wheel began to roll. If you remember, we learned this right in the beginning of our semester about how to identify where the mark is rolling along on the ground. So, and this was even on our quizzes, this was on our tests, and look, now it's on our SATs. Next, I have an English example. It says, as used in line 12, peculiar most nearly means. Well, English students, remember that vocab quiz you cheated on and you thought you were successful? I bet you wish you studied now, because here we are at the SATs and the ACTs, and they're asking us to identify the meanings of words. I'm sure that your teachers have all told you what words means in lines of poetry. Remember Shakespeare? Shakespeare's all about identifying the meanings of words within sentences, because the way that he uses them, he uses very big words and he uses very big meanings, and you have to define and figure out and comprehend what he means. This will help you with your reading comprehension section on the SATs and ACTs. The hardest part about the SATs and ACTs is reading those very, very long paragraphs of words and actually remembering at the end of the paragraph specific things about the word. Well, here we are in English, 9th, 10th, and 11th, and 12th grade, and that's what we do all the time. We read long works, and then we're asked questions about it on tests weeks later and expected to remember. This is preparing you for later on in life when you're going to need to take the SATs, or even later on in life when you're at a job and your boss tells you to do something and you have to remember the whole list of things that you need to do later on that day. Science students, you might be thinking, well, there isn't a science section on the SATs. I'm just fine, and I don't really like science anyways. Well, not really. There is a science section on the ACTs. And the ACTs, and I've taken both that ACT and SAT, and the ACT is way easier. You only have to take one math section, and then they supplement it by making you take a science section, instead of taking two math sections and two English sections like they do on the SATs. The ACTs could be a great way, if you understand science, to save yourself and get a better grade on these entrance exams to college. If you don't do great in math, if you don't do great in English, but you do just okay on every single subject, the ACTs will probably be for you if you pay attention during science class. Even though there aren't science questions on the SAT though, there are going to be science facts that you need to answer questions about. Some of these reading sections will have graphs at the bottom of them, or tables that you have to read. And these are all from science concepts. Remember the gas law graphs that graph temperature against volume, or volume against pressure, or pressure against temperature? You might just see something like this when you're faced with the SATs. They might have this science section about a reading about global warming or something like that, and then asking you to identify the graph based on the findings within the article. History students, well, what about us? This is same as the science students. Most of the reading comprehension on the SATs, or at least some, comes from excerpts in history books, or is about important occasions in history. I could think of one section I read about in the past, and I think it was about slavery during my SAT prep. Well, maybe you'll need to identify important facts from a speech. Read these SAT prep books and you might just see different history sections. It might be easier if you remember learning these speeches in history class. Might be easier to read and comprehend if you read and comprehend during your history lessons. I Googled what high school subjects prepare you the most for the SAT and the ACT. According to the Princeton Review, Algebra 2, Geometry, and Basic Trigonometry, which can be learned in Algebra 2, were the most important math subjects. Language arts and vocab was the most important for the English. And again, there are two sections for the English. Good thing you take 4 years of English. You should be more than ready. And then biology and chemistry. Now, biology and chemistry, that does not exempt you from thinking that physics is important. Remember that past question that was a specifically physics question? And anatomy. That's very important because we need to know about our bodies. Even if you don't ever go to college and you are just a stay-at-home mom, the things that you learn in anatomy might help you be a better mom because you understand the body and you understand what's going on and the processes that are going on. It might make you a little less panicked when your child has a health problem because you learned, oh, in anatomy, what this means or what the bones are. Guess what, kids? Each of these classes are completed in high school. So if you did well in high school and learned the information there, then hello, college, you're on your way. If you took the time to learn high school subjects and you worked very hard, you're going to do well on your SATs and ACTs. And even if you don't get into Harvard or Yale or any of those colleges, the elites of the college industry, you will get into college. Even if you go to community college, there's no shame in that. If you want to look more about what are the subjects most important, if you look up which high school classes prepare you for the SAT and ACT from the Princeton Review, they have a really nice article there. Well, why are the SATs important at all? It's just a standardized test and doesn't really tell you all what you know anyways. Well, that's true. But the SATs evaluate what you learned in high school. Well, if you can't remember anything from your 4 years in high school, how will you remember the vital things that college teaches you to prepare you to be successful in your career? If you can't learn anything in 4 years of high school, then you won't be successful after 4 years of college either. And it would be very embarrassing after 4 years of high school and 4 years of college to be an architect who doesn't remember geometry, a journalist who can't spell, a teacher who can't remember general facts, an accountant who can't do algebra, a chemist who doesn't understand how atoms work, a doctor, nurse, or healthcare worker who doesn't know how the heart functions. So, the SAT weeds you out early. If you're not going to be someone who's going to learn geometry, well, you're not going to go to college and you won't become an architect. If you can't learn to spell, you won't get into college and you won't be a journalist. If you can't learn general facts and then be able to teach them to others, you'll never be a teacher. If you can't learn algebra, you won't pass the ACTs and you won't be an accountant. If you can't learn general chemistry, well, you won't go to college and you won't be a chemist or anything else in the science field, an engineer or anything else. If you can't learn general anatomy and you can't pass your high school classes, well, you won't pass college and you won't become a healthcare professional like you want. So instead of giving up on your hopes and dreams now and saying, I can't get into college, take the steps necessary to get there. Well, I'm not going to college, so what's it to me? Well. I'm so glad you asked. I looked up 20 jobs you can get with a high school diploma, and here is what I found. First, an electrical power line installer and repairer. Well, this doesn't sound like a job that I need algebra for. It doesn't sound like a job that I need blah 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 for. Well, you do need your high school diploma. So first of all, you have to pass those classes. But secondly, if you didn't pay attention into chemistry and you didn't learn about electricity, you might not know everything that you could about installing electrical wires. Remember in general chemistry when we talked about different metals that are good electric conductors? Well, you might just be faced with those and you might learn more about them later on in life. So it's good to have a good foundation. Reinforcing iron and rebar workers. Well, it's a good thing that you learned about forces in physics, because if you did, you now know about equal and opposite forces, and you know that if you're going to reinforce something, that it needs to be in with a greater force than the thing that it's balancing, so that if anything else, any other force is added onto it, it can definitely withstand under that force. If you don't know about equal opposite forces and you don't make it strong enough, and just even the tiniest bit of wind or any other force comes by, well, your iron reinforcement is going to fall and you might not have a job tomorrow. So it's a good thing you learned physics. Insurance sales agent. Well, it's a good thing you learned about math, because in insurance sales, you're going to have to do a lot of different kinds of math. And you might say, well, not algebra. Well, in algebra 2, remember learning about statistics? There you have it. There's a little bit of practical information in every single subject. Lodging manager. Managers have to talk to a lot of people. Imagine if you did not know proper grammar or word usage. And even further, lodging managers are going to have to do math to keep their books. They're going to have to use math to keep their books, grammar to speak, and they're going to need to use spelling in order to write up their logs that day. If you're a manager who can't use proper grammar, who cannot spell, and who cannot do basic math, you will sound illiterate, and your employees will not listen to you, and you won't be in management long, if you even get there in the first place. In any career, what you learned in history will help you socially. Imagine if you were talking among your peers, your coworkers, or your boss, and something came up about geography, or economics, or politics, or pretty much any major life event in history, and you didn't know anything about it. Well, that would be pretty embarrassing, because that's some basic high school information. I'm sure that you've learned a little bit about geography and where places are in the world. This is good to know, especially because you'll probably come into contact with many people from different cultures. If you know a little bit about it, it honestly will help you socially, because people get very flattered when you know stuff about their culture. Or if you don't even know where countries are on the map or literally anything about the world around you, people might just ask you, well, didn't you go to high school? And you'll still reply yes, and they're going to kind of think badly of you. And they're going to think, well, I guess you didn't really spend the time to learn anything in high school if you don't know basic politics, or if you don't know economics or geography. And let me tell you, history was not my favorite subject. And sometimes this even affects me. I did not take the time to learn a lot in history. And sometimes people talk about different cultures and stuff, and I might know a lot about science, and when I talk about science, people think I'm very smart. But when we talk about the world around me, that's when I really start to sound stupid, because I did not take the time, because I didn't think history was important. And it turns out that history is important and that I need to learn my stuff now, because later on in life, even when my children come to me and ask me questions about the president or about economics or about different places in the world, I sure want to know, because I want my kids to think I'm the smartest person alive. Obtaining the most basic knowledge will help you become a well-rounded person, will help you become more successful in your career, and whether you go to college or not, we are preparing you for everyday life. College is what prepares you for a specific career. Once you're in college, you can only take math classes or only English classes or only science or only history, whichever ones that you choose. But high school, we are preparing you for general life, everyday life. We are giving you the most basic information you need to survive as a person. And that's why when you read books and they're talking about people who stopped going to school in 8th grade or stopped going to school in 2nd or 3rd grade, well, in 2nd or 3rd grade, you've already learned to add and subtract. You've already learned basic reading. But they still call those people illiterate because they don't know much in comparison to everyone else around them. If everyone else around you has a high school education, then in the room, even if you've gotten up to 10th or 11th grade, you are considered illiterate because everyone else has more knowledge than you do. And also, you need a good job. Money, unfortunately, is required to live. These aren't things that you think about when you're in high school. Right now, your parents might help you pay your bills. You might have scholarships to go to college. But eventually, you're going to have to work. There's no way around it. Even if you get a huge inheritance of money, there's going to be something that you have to do in order to work. Even if it's housework or something, you're going to have to work. So learning in high school to be diligent and to do your work quickly and efficiently, even if it's not the same work you're going to be doing later, well, it's a good skill to have. You might as well become diligent now. No matter what your circumstance, you will need money to live successfully. Even if you're not a millionaire, you at least want to have a house, a car, and a family, right? Well, you will need money to support them. And no one wants to work at McDonald's forever. It's nice to work there for a while. I mean, I worked at McDonald's. There's nothing wrong with it. But there's a time where you kind of just want to do more. You want to do a job that you enjoy. You might enjoy working at McDonald's if that's for you, but it's not for everyone. And there might be a day that you say, I just want to do something more. Well, in high school, it's important to get those tools so that one day when you do decide that you want to do something more, you can. Well, I'll be just fine. Well, you say that now, but one day you might find yourself faced with a situation and you said once, well, I won't ever use that. And then you will need to use it. You'll have to backtrack, you'll have to Google, you'll have to try to figure it out. Well, might as well just do that now so that you'll never be faced with that situation. It's better to be safe than sorry. So just do your homework. You'll never, ever know too many things because there's too many things in this world that you can know. Well, I'm just not that smart. I've heard it before. But this is so untrue. Nobody is not that smart. Some people have a learning disability, and I'm not downplaying those, but smart is just a relative. It's relative to what are you comparing yourself to? You're comparing yourself to yourself or others. To be smart for yourself, all you have to do is study. You just have to gain knowledge because gaining knowledge is what makes you smarter. And gaining more knowledge than others gain is what makes you very smart to other people. If somebody knows something more than you know, that's when you say, oh, wow, you're pretty smart. I mean, there's people who know all of this stuff about cars. I don't know anything about cars. So I would say, wow, you're super smart. And at the same time, an English major at college might think I'm very smart when I start talking about intermolecular forces and other things like that because they just don't know that knowledge. Just gain knowledge. Gaining knowledge is what makes you smart. If you think you're not smart, well, that probably means you're not studying. Because if you do not study, you haven't gained knowledge. If you haven't gained knowledge, then you're right, you are not smart. If other people know more than you, well, that's just because they took the time to know those things. Well, I'm just lazy. In reality, lazy means Eventually, you'll get fired from your job. When you get fired from your job, you're going to have no money. If you have no money, you can't pay your bills. If you can't pay your bills in the future, you'll be homeless. If you'll be homeless, then it's not a happy life. You will be sad. So, even when you're feeling lazy, say, I will do it anyways. And doing your work despite feeling lazy is a good idea. And this good idea will lead you to a good job. A good job will lead you to having money that will help you pay bills. And when you pay bills, you can have a nice life and you will be happy. No one wants you to live a sad life. We want you to live a life full of happiness. So we are giving you the tools required to live a basic and good life. I'm lazy too. I understand. There are some days where I wake up and I say, I do not want to go to work. And I have 2 jobs, so that's really hard for me some days. I don't want to go to either job. But the reason that I do it despite being lazy is because I want to be a successful person. There's things I want to do in life. And in reality, I love going to work. Once I'm there, I don't always like doing my work, but I enjoy the people I've met because of it. I enjoy my students. I enjoy everything that I do. And at the end of a long, hard week, when I get a day off, it's so enjoyable. Think about life right now. Nobody has much to do of anything. There's not a lot of purpose because we're all just staying home, quarantined like we're supposed to. But the lack of purpose is making people sad, and people are realizing, oh, I like to go to school. It might be for the social aspect more than the academics, but they like it. They're realizing they like going to their job and they like doing their everyday things. They might even be missing going to the gym. This isn't because we are not lazy people. Of course, we're all going to have lazy days. It's because despite being lazy, there's things that as people that we desire to do. And in high school, we're setting you up so that you can have a life full of doing all of the things that you enjoy. I hope you'll take all of these things into consideration. And of course, these are just my opinions. There might be different things that are going to make you successful. Do those things. But at any rate, do what it takes for you to be successful so that you can live a nice and happy life.